Police! Open up! The pounding on the door shook the walls before Dana even reached the hallway. 3 sharp knocks, a pause, then 3 more, harder and angrier. She froze mid-step, coffee mug trembling in her hand. No sirens, no flashing lights. Just 2 shadows on her porch, both shifting like they owned the night. She looked through the peephole and saw the badges, too shiny, too new, and the word police, printed like a costume prop. Something about them was wrong, but those men thought they were scaring an ordinary woman. What they didn't know was that the woman behind the door wasn't just another homeowner. She was a U.S. Marshal who'd spent years facing real danger. And by the time it was over, they'd wish they'd never knocked at all. If you believe real strength isn't in a badge, but in integrity and courage, tap like and subscribe. Because in the next few minutes, you'll see how one woman's calm defiance will turn a fake arrest into a masterclass in justice. The pounding on the door rattled the picture frames before Dana even reached the hallway. 3 hard knocks, a pause, then 3 more, louder, angrier. She froze for a second, coffee mug still in hand, her heartbeat steady but alert. From outside, a man's voice boomed, "Police! Open up!" Her eyes narrowed. No sirens, no flashing lights through the blinds, just 2 shadows on the porch, both bulky, both shifting impatiently. She set her mug down on the counter and moved closer, careful not to make a sound. Through the peephole, she saw them clearly now. 2 men in dark tactical vests, the word police printed in letters that looked just a little too shiny, too new. One of them, heavy-set, red-faced, early 40s, pounded the door again. "Ma'am, this is your last warning." "Open the door!" Dana's lips pressed into a line. Last warning? For what? The second man, thinner, jittery, kept glancing around the quiet cul-de-sac. His badge was clipped to his vest, but the emblem was wrong, a mismatched font, the kind of cheap replica you find in a costume store. Dana exhaled slowly. Calm. Controlled. She'd seen this kind of performance before, intimidation wrapped in fake authority. She unlocked the door but didn't open it fully, just a small crack. "Can I help you, officers?" The heavy one leaned forward immediately. "We've had complaints from the Homeowners Association. You've been violating property codes. Need you to step outside and answer some questions." Her brow arched slightly. "Property codes? Don't play dumb," he snapped. "You've got an unauthorized flag on display, unregistered guests staying overnight, and a security camera pointed at the street. That's an HOA violation. Step out." Dana blinked once. "You said you're police." "Since when does the HOA send the police to enforce landscaping?" The thinner man fumbled. "We're assisting with community enforcement, ma'am." "Standard procedure." Her voice stayed level. "May I see your IDS?" The first man's jaw flexed. "Look, lady, you're making this harder than it needs to be. Step outside. Now." Dana tilted her head slightly, studying his face, the twitch in his jaw, the nervous flick of his partner's eyes. Something in her tone shifted, quiet, but razor-sharp. "If you were real officers, you'd know that demanding entry without a warrant is a federal violation." The heavy man's confidence faltered for half a second. Then he forced a smirk. "Listen, you can either come out or we can come in. Your choice." That did it. Dana's hand moved subtly toward her pocket. Not out of fear, but precision. "Tell me something," she said. "Which department are you with again?" "Metro Division," he barked. She smiled faintly. "Metro doesn't exist in this county." The thinner one shifted, muttering, "Ray!" "Shut up!" the other snapped. Then to her, "Ma'am, we're not going to play games. Step outside right now or—" Behind him, a screen door creaked. Mrs. Alvarez, her elderly neighbor, stood on her porch, squinting toward the scene. "Dana? Everything okay, honey?" The heavy man turned his head sharply. "Ma'am, please go inside." Dana's tone hardened. "You don't talk to her." Her calm was disarming, enough to make both men hesitate. She pushed the door open another inch, just enough for her face to catch the sunlight. Her eyes were cold now, focused, professional. "If this is an HOA issue, I'll handle it with the HOA. But if you're impersonating officers, I suggest you leave before I call the real ones." The heavy one laughed, forced and mean. "Lady, you think we're scared of you?" "Not yet," she said quietly. "But you will be." The confidence in her voice unsettled them. The thinner man tugged at his vest. "Ray, maybe we should—" "Quiet!" Dana slowly closed the door, but not all the way. The lock clicked, the sound sharp in the tense air. On the other side, the two men exchanged looks. "She's bluffing," Ray muttered. "I'll call Greg." He stepped away from the door, pulling out his phone. "Yeah, she's not cooperating. Says she's calling the cops. You sure you want to keep pushing this?" A pause, then he nodded, listening. "All right, you got it." When he turned back, his smirk returned. "President Miller says we finish this now." Inside, Dana's expression didn't change. She'd heard it all. Her gaze shifted to the mantel, where her badge lay beside a framed photo of her and her late partner from her days in service. Her fingers brushed the cold metal. Her patience had run its course. Greg Miller arrived the way bullies always do, loud, confident, and convinced no one could stop him. His SUV screeched to a halt in front of Dana's house, the HOA logo printed neatly on the side door. Clipboard in one hand, phone in the other, he walked up the driveway with the smirk of a man who thought he owned the whole street. "Gentlemen," he called out, adjusting his polo collar. "What's the problem here?" Ray, the heavy-set fake cop, straightened immediately. "She's refusing to comply." "Says she's calling the police." Greg scoffed. "She isn't calling anyone. This is HOA property. We make the rules here." From behind the door, Dana's voice came calm and clear. "This is my property, Mr. Miller. You don't have the authority to send anyone to my door." Greg stepped closer, his tone dripping with smug superiority. "Oh, Miss Caldwell, you're new here. You must not understand how we operate. The HOA ensures this neighborhood stays safe and orderly, and you—" He looked around at the flag near her porch, the security camera above her door. Seemed to be struggling with that concept. Dana opened the door halfway, her face calm but unreadable. "You sent fake police to my house. That's not order. That's harassment." Greg chuckled. "Fake? No, no. These are authorized compliance officers. We subcontract them through private security." Her eyes flicked to the men's mismatched vests and dollar store badges. "Then you should demand a refund." That stung. His smile faltered. "Listen here, Ms. Caldwell. You may have worked in whatever field you claim, but this is a private community. When we ask you to take down something, you comply. That's how we keep property values up." Dana didn't blink. "So now the American flag hurts your property value?" Greg's jaw tightened. "Don't twist my words. That's not the issue." "Then what is?" He hesitated. "Your attitude. Your refusal to respect the association. You think the rules don't apply to you." She leaned against the doorframe, her tone even. "No, I think the rules don't apply when they're made up on the spot." Ray stepped in again, emboldened by Greg's presence. "Ma'am, we can do this the easy way or the hard way." Dana's eyes cut to him, steady, unwavering. "The hard way?" You really want to go that route? The thinner one, Ben, swallowed hard. Ray, maybe... Stay out of it, Ray barked, stepping closer to the door. Mrs. Alvarez's voice called faintly from her porch. Greg! What's going on here? Why are you yelling at Dana? Greg turned sharply, voice snapping with irritation. Go back inside, ma'am. HOA business. Dana's tone dropped to a cold whisper. You don't speak to her like that. Greg looked back at her, his smirk returning. I'll speak however I like. You can't intimidate me, Miss Caldwell. You're in violation, and we have every right to... Enough, Dana said. Her voice wasn't loud, but it cut through his words like a blade. The air went still. Even the birds seemed to stop. She opened the door fully now, stepping out just enough for the sunlight to catch the badge-shaped outline under her shirt. You're done talking. Greg blinked, trying to regain control. Excuse me? You heard me, she said. You're trespassing. You sent unlicensed men impersonating officers. And you think that gives you power? He forced a laugh. Oh, this is cute. What are you going to do? Call the real cops? No, she said, her tone calm, almost too calm. I don't need to call them. Ray frowned. Lady, what's that supposed to mean? She looked between them, unflinching. It means you have 30 seconds to leave my property. After that, you're not dealing with a homeowner anymore. Greg crossed his arms. And who exactly are we dealing with? For the first time, a hint of a smile touched her lips. You'll find out soon enough. If you're still watching, you can feel the shift in power. Hit like and subscribe if you believe calm truth always beats loud authority. Because what happens next will prove that fear only works until it meets the right person. Dana stepped back inside and shut the door. Ray exhaled hard, muttering, Man, I don't like this. Greg rolled his eyes. Relax, she's bluffing. But from behind the closed door, they could hear movement. Slow, deliberate, steady. Something about it made the hair on Ray's neck stand up. Greg, he whispered, maybe we should just leave. Greg smirked. You scared of a woman with a flag and a camera? A click sounded from inside, metal against leather. The door handle turned. When it opened again, the air itself seemed to shift. Dana stood framed in sunlight, calm as before. But this time the badge on her belt gleamed in plain view. And in that second, everything changed. Are you enjoying this story? Please like and subscribe so you don't miss out on many more stories like this. The fake cops froze. Sunlight hit the gold badge on Dana's belt, and for a second, it was the only thing either man could see. Ray blinked, squinting hard, as if hoping it wasn't real. What is that? Dana stepped onto the porch, posture straight, calm, every movement deliberate. Her voice was low, controlled, the tone of someone used to command. You wanted ID, she said, unclipping the badge and holding it up. Here it is. The emblem glinted. U.S. Marshal Service. Ben's mouth fell open. Oh no! Dana's eyes swept over them, one quick practiced scan. She saw the shaky patches on their vests, the fake belts, the clip-on badges, the cheap radios with no antennas. Every detail screamed fraud. Let me guess, she said softly. Bought those uniforms online? Ray's confidence evaporated. Ma'am, we were just impersonating law enforcement, she finished. Which, in case you're wondering, is a federal crime. Greg Miller's face turned pale. Hold on now. There's no need for... She turned her gaze on him, and whatever words he had left withered on his tongue. Mr. Miller, she said, voice like cold steel. You brought them here, didn't you? He stammered. It was a misunderstanding. I just asked them to speak with you. Speak? Dana cut in sharply. They threatened to force entry into a federal officer's home. That's not speaking. Ray took a step back. Look, we didn't know. You should have known the moment I asked for your IDS, she said. Real cops don't bluff. They don't need to. She stepped forward. Her boots hit the porch boards with quiet authority. You've got about 10 seconds to tell me if you want to handle this the easy way or the way that gets you cuffed face down on my lawn. Ray's hands shot up instantly. Easy way! Easy way! Ben nodded frantically, already backing toward the sidewalk. We're leaving! We're sorry! Greg's voice cracked. Wait a second, you can't just... Dana raised her voice, firm but calm. Stop talking, Greg. You're done. He froze, the finality in her tone slicing through his arrogance. Mrs. Alvarez was still watching from her porch, wide-eyed. Dios mío, she whispered, pulling out her phone to record. Dana turned her head slightly toward the imposters. Drop the fake badges. Now. They did, the cheap metal clinking uselessly against the concrete. Turn around, she ordered. Hands where I can see them. They obeyed without a word. Greg finally found his voice again, but it was no longer steady. You can't do this! You don't have authority over HOA matters! Dana's eyes flicked to him, a hint of disbelief in her expression. You sent 2 men impersonating federal officers to threaten me. You're lucky I haven't called the real ones yet. Ray glanced nervously at Ben. She's bluffing, right? She's not really. From her hip, Dana slowly lifted her radio. It wasn't plastic. It wasn't fake. And when she pressed the button, the static that came through wasn't for show. This is Marshal Caldwell, she said clearly, requesting local PD to my location. 2 suspects impersonating law enforcement, 1 HOA president complicit. They're cooperative for now. The response crackled through immediately. Copy that, Marshal. Units en route. Greg's mouth fell open. Wait, you're actually... She gave him a look that shut him down completely. You should have done your homework before sending anyone to my door. From down the street, sirens began to wail. Real ones this time. Ben panicked. Ray! We gotta go! Ray stumbled backward, tripping over his vest strap. I didn't sign up for this, man. Dana didn't move. She didn't chase them. She didn't need to. The sound of engines approaching did it for her. She simply stood on her porch, calm, centered, watching the chaos unfold beneath her flag, the same one Greg had claimed violated HOA standards. When the first cruiser rolled in, Greg's last ounce of confidence drained away. Officers stepped out, eyes locking immediately on Donna's badge, then on the 2 men with counterfeit gear. The lead officer nodded to her respectfully. Marshal Caldwell. We'll take it from here. Appreciate it, she said, stepping back. They were pretending to be law enforcement. The HOA president here arranged the visit. Greg stammered. I didn't arrange, I just... The officer raised a hand. Sir, step over here, please. Ray and Ben were cuffed first. No resistance, just quiet humiliation. Greg stood frozen, clipboard hanging loosely in his hand. Dana's voice broke the silence. Next time you want to enforce a rule, Mr. Miller, try reading the law first. He opened his mouth, but no words came out. Behind her, Mrs. Alvarez clapped once, softly. Then again. Within seconds, Neighbors were peeking through curtains, phones out, capturing the sight. The HOA president and his hired bullies finally caught. Dana turned, heading back inside. Her voice was calm as ever, but her words lingered like thunder. Power's not about who you can scare, Greg. It's about who you can't. The door closed. The badge gleamed once more in the sunlight before disappearing behind it. By the time the police cruisers pulled away, the neighborhood had transformed. The same street that once whispered about Dana behind closed doors now buzzed with hushed awe. Curtains twitched. Doors cracked open. Faces that once looked away now stared in disbelief. Mrs. Alvarez walked across the lawn, shaking her head, her phone still in hand. "Senora Caldwell," she said softly, "I knew something was wrong with those men." "Dios bendiga you, truly." Dana smiled faintly. "Thank you, Rosa. You were brave to step out when no one else did." "I just watched," the woman said, guilt flickering across her face. "You faced them alone." Dana shook her head. "You'd be surprised what quiet can do when you stand your ground." As Rosa turned back toward her porch, 2 local news vans appeared at the end of the street. Reporters stepped out, cameras slung over shoulders, chasing the story the scanners had already spread. Fake cops arrested after targeting federal officer. It didn't take long for the truth to circulate. The HOA president's name, Greg Miller, was on everyone's lips. Inside her house, Dana sat at the table with a cup of coffee, her phone buzzing every few minutes. Messages from neighbors, colleagues, even her supervisor at the Marshal's office. One stood out, handled it perfectly. The department's proud. She exhaled deeply, the adrenaline finally fading. Outside, the sound of engines had been replaced by a quiet, uneasy calm. Then came the knock. 3 sharp raps. Controlled, official. Dana opened the door to find Officer Barnes, the lead officer from earlier, standing beside a suited detective. "Marshal Caldwell," Barnes said respectfully. "Just wanted to update you." The 2 impersonators confessed. Said Greg Miller offered them a few $100 to scare you straight about HOA violations. Dana's brow furrowed. "Scare me straight?" Barnes nodded grimly. Said he told them you were trouble, always challenging rules. He didn't know who you were. The detective stepped in. "We've got them booked on impersonation and attempted intimidation." As for Miller, he let the silence hang. "That's a civil and criminal mess waiting to happen." Dana nodded once. "He'll find out what real consequences look like." The detective handed her a card. "We'll keep you informed." "And thank you. You handled that cleaner than most of us could have." When they left, Dana leaned against the doorframe, her eyes drifting toward the flag at the corner of her porch, the same one Greg had once called unapproved decor. It waved gently in the breeze, light glinting off its pole. Her phone buzzed again. A text this time, from an unknown number. "You think this makes you a hero? You embarrassed me. You'll regret this." She stared at it, no emotion crossing her face. Then she typed back one word. "Already did," and blocked the number. The next morning, the neighborhood felt different. The gossip had shifted from that woman with the flag to the U.S. Marshal who stopped fake cops. Greg Miller's house, once the center of smug HOA meetings, was quiet. His car hadn't moved since dawn. By noon, 2 patrol cars were parked outside it. Officers stood at his door, paperwork in hand. Word spread fast. Greg was being questioned for aiding impersonators and harassment. From her front window, Dana watched it all with calm detachment. She wasn't gloating. She wasn't celebrating. She was simply finished. Mrs. Alvarez came by again, this time holding a small box of pastries. "For you," she said shyly. "You kept us safe, whether we knew it or not." Dana smiled softly. "I didn't do it to be noticed." "I know," Rosa said, "but people needed to see it. Some of us forgot what courage looks like." As the two women stood there, a small group of neighbors began gathering by the sidewalk, quietly, hesitantly, until someone finally spoke. "Marshal Caldwell," a man asked. We were wondering if you'd consider joining the HOA board. After everything that happened, we could use someone who actually believes in fairness." Dana looked at them, a mix of shame, hope, and respect written across their faces. "I'm not sure I have the patience for that," she said with a small grin, "but I'll think about it." The man nodded, relieved just to be acknowledged. Across the street, the flag on her porch rippled again, this time with no complaint, no threat, only quiet acknowledgement. That evening, as the sun dropped low and the street fell still again, Dana stood on her porch one last time. The air was cool, the sky a soft orange haze. She whispered to herself, half a prayer, half a promise. Justice isn't loud. It just lasts. Inside, the phone rang once more. Not a threat this time, a call from headquarters. Her supervisor's voice came through. "Caldwell? There's talk about a commendation. Public Integrity wants to use your case in training." Dana chuckled softly. "Didn't plan on teaching today." "Sometimes the best lessons aren't planned," he said. As the call ended, she looked around her quiet neighborhood, peaceful, humbled, aware. The fake cops were gone. The bully had fallen. And in their place stood something stronger. Respect, restored the quiet way she liked it, without shouting, without revenge. Just truth. If you believe real power isn't about control, but about courage, hit like, drop where you're watching from in the comments, and subscribe for more stories where courage beats oppression.